Hey everybody, I'm gonna bet you have never heard of what my friend Stasha Washburn does. She's a period coach. Now we're gonna find out what exactly that means. And also, let me note, she is the period coach. She's gonna help us understand how our periods connect with the rest of our health and our lives. And she's gonna give you a different perspective than I am gonna guess you've ever heard. So, first of all, what the heck's a period coach?
So I started off doing hormonal balance, and
Oh,
it was a very specific concept, but I slowly, not maybe slowly, maybe vastly quickly realized that really what I wanted to do was end the taboo around menstruation, around women, because as long as you're hiding something that happens every single month, probably 13 times a year for about
uh-huh,
5 days, that's a lot of days,
it is.
you feel less than. And that's where we get phrases like run with the big boys, act like a
Uh-huh.
dude, man up, sack up, all of those
Uh-huh.
things.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that has to do with the fact that we are not familiar with, don't understand, and are ashamed, embarrassed by our lady parts. And that's when I
Yeah.
realized, like, it's not just hormonal balance. And in fact, if we got over this taboo, I'm willing to bet, and I mean, I would put real money on this bet, that good percentage of hormonal imbalances that we have out there would just disappear. So I
Interesting.
thought bigger impact, better way to leave the world than when I got here would
Yeah.
be to just end that taboo, give women their connection back, their familiarity with their bodies back, the
Mm-hmm.
power back. And that's when I went, okay, I gotta be the period coach. I need
Yeah.
this to be all inclusive, really big. And I need to take the first step against breaking the taboo by just saying it in my title. Like, let's just
Yeah.
have that conversation first and foremost.
And it's not gross. It's not horrible. I mean, okay, maybe it's a little gross, but it's not something to be embarrassed of. I mean, I think about when I am when I work in the office when I have other people around me, not here at home. I will put a tampon up my sleeve to then go to the bathroom and why are we embarrassed? What
Because
who
the
cares?
marketing for tampons is discreet
Yeah.
packaging.
Yeah.
So you feel like, oh, I have to be discreet. And that's the message that you get every day, over and over again. Every tampon commercial with some woman
Yeah.
playing tennis,
Yeah,
tennis in a white
of
skirt,
course. Of course.
riding her horse in her white capris. They're all discreet. The whole point is that it's not even happening. And in reality, it is
Oh, it's
happening.
totally happening.
And not only is it happening, but I bet you didn't know that your period blood is full of stem cells.
I did not know that.
So far from gross,
Amazing.
actually,
Absolutely amazing.
really fucking cool. I mean, there's myths and stories from all over the world
Yeah.
from the Wayback Time Machine
Yeah.
about women, goddesses, princesses, women gifting their menstrual blood to a fallen warrior or a favorite
Oh my
knight
God.
or a god that's been struck down, and that it heals and regenerates and nourishes and
Wow.
gets back up and off the ground. And it's the only women have that power to give life, not just by birth, but by that gift.
That's insane. I'm going to try
Yeah.
that on my husband tonight, see if he goes for it.
There's actually women all around the world, and this has been going on since the dawn of time, and it's been very quiet, obviously, since the patriarchy took over. But there are a lot of stories of how women would bake their blood into goods, foods, whatever, to the
Sorry,
man
I,
that
I
they
can't with
wanted
that.
as claiming,
I
like
just can't with that.
claiming it. I know. I mean, what I love about this stuff is it takes it so far
Yeah.
that you're like, oh, you know what? I can walk down the street with a tampon. It's okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you're thinking about a baked good, I mean, I was kind of freaked out by people baking with breast milk, but now, I mean, I can hold my tampon and not put it up my sleeve when I am at the office.
When you know that there are legitimate, and women do
Yeah.
ingest menstrual blood in different ways, shapes, and forms. But when you know that, you're like, I can hold a tampon. That's cool.
Yeah, because I mean, just imagine if I were eating it.
Right?
Now
Yeah.
that would be
It takes
weird.
that. It takes that line down where you're like, okay, you know what? I can hold a tampon. Like
Yeah.
that's my. I can do that now.
why is it we're so embarrassed of our periods in general? Like, why is it such a negative thing where people are like, oh, you're
Patriarchy.
PMSing? Yeah, I guess, yeah, that makes
Just
sense.
the patriarchal messaging. I mean, it kind of began, at least for the Western world. I'm not going to claim that all of the world had the same experience because they didn't, but the Western world at least. With the burning times, there was a 200-year witch hunt. 9 million women were estimated tortured and murdered.
Jeez.
And you gotta think, like, this is the 1400s. Like, there weren't as many people on the planet. So that, you think about what
That's
9
a lot
million
of people.
Well, that's even more then. And that's what it took to not even actually fully sever women from their cycles.
Yeah.
But the things that the witch hunters, the priests and men of the cloth, were looking for were women who had any skills with herbs, cycling problems, because a lot of times that was for helping women give birth, keep a pregnancy, get pregnant, have a good period, get rid of cramps, all of those things. So a lot of that herbal lore was for women's cycles. So a big part of that witch hunting thing was looking for women. And because a woman's stress response is actually tend and befriend, it's not fight or flight. That's the main. We came together. So when we cycled, we came together, and that was tradition for all of our evolution, was women to come together when they were cycling and take care of each other and help each other, and actually bring messages back to the community from the gods or whomever. So we couldn't hang out together anymore, or we were suddenly a coven and we were all burned to the stake.
Of course.
So we have this real deep DNA and evolutionary desire to gather and be collaborative and commune with the spirits or the ancestors or whatever during that time. But instead we have this overlay trauma genetics from these times that actually also say, no, that's bad. You can't do that. You need to watch your back. They'll get you. And that was very purposefully instated by the dudes at the time. And it goes to today, because now it's in our marketing. Now it's in our you can be an independent woman doing things all by herself on her own with your discreet packaged pad and tampon, and no one will know. I dream of a world where you're walking down the street and you like bump into a woman and you're like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm in my little phase, I'm a little hazy right now. And she goes, oh girl, I got you, I got some really great chocolate here.
See, and you know what, we all feel reasonably comfortable with our periods when we're with close friends, but I mean, it's funny how even amongst other women, it's still taboo. It's still, and PMSing is such a negative thing. I mean, we all handle it differently. Some of us get mean. I cry at commercials and crave grilled cheese. But I mean, some of us, we handle it so differently, and it's been used as like a euphemism for being bitchy, essentially.
Yeah, there's a spectrum of PMS. And so one of the first things I want to say is PMS is not a phase of your cycle. It is a hormonal imbalance. And that doesn't make it less real. That makes it very real.
It's totally real, yes.
Super real. And there could be a myriad of reasons for your hormonal imbalances. Like I said, stress is one. Diet is another. Movement is another. You might be doing too much working out. That can actually lead to hormonal imbalance for women. And it could simply be the fact that you are repressing what really needs to be said. So I find a lot of times women in that PMS, having that PMS where they're like really angry or really upset, are a lot of the times not saying the things that need to be said. And that anger is bubbling up because our veil is real thin during that time. So even when you're in balance, it's not working.
Yeah.
It's a matter of being able to go, oh, I get it. I know what's not working. In fact, I even call the little phase when we get PMS our what phase. We know what's not working. We know what is working. We know what we like. We know what we don't like.
Yes.
We know those what questions real well.
Yes, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, so it's just a matter of actually being able to stand back and go, okay, what is working, what's not working, and really taking a look at it and then doing something about it, not at the moment, just like a week or two later.
Right. It sounds like a great time, even just once a month to kind of check in with yourself. And as
Yes.
you are starting to be, you can see what you're irritated by. You can see what is striking you during that time. And yeah, I agree. Wait a little bit, but it's a good reminder each month, just check
It
in with
is.
yourself. And that's a theme we've heard throughout the speakers at the summit is check in with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Be in tune with what your body is telling you.
Yeah, it's so big, especially during that luteal phase. So the week to 2 weeks before your period,
Yeah.
and then your menstrual phase are actually energetically your very yin times.
Mm-hmm.
They're your late summer, fall, winter
Yeah.
times, and those are very internal times. And
Mm-hmm.
your brain actually changes as your hormones shift. So
Hmm.
you go from that what phase into your menstrual phase, which is what I call my why phase, and that's because your nervous system, your right and left hemispheres, the synapses between
Mm-hmm.
the two are firing the most, as well as your gut brain, right? Because you've got as
Yeah.
many brain cells in your gut as a cat has. So
Wow.
it's not a totally dumb organ down there. It actually kind of knows what it's doing, but we've seen
Yes.
that those gut cells send signals up into our brain substantially. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're really talking to us. So that gut instinct is got truth to it. So
Good.
here you've got both your hemispheres firing. You're getting all of these responses from your inside, deep inside you, all of these
Yeah.
things coming together. And during your menstrual phase, they're all talking the most. They have the most clarity, the most conversation. So you really can look at the whys creatively, logically,
Wow.
instinctually. So if you take those things that you come up with during your what phase and then
Yeah.
you move into your menstrual phase and you go, okay, now why?
That's again something that you don't want to just come up with the what's each month.
Exactly.
Being able to explore that during that time and, essentially regimented and regularly. You can do this
Yeah.
along with your cycle. And it's a nice reminder, too, since, most of us are keeping track of when that cycle is happening, whether it's, punching out each day's worth of birth control or, in a period app like I have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's a good reminder to do that each month as well.
Yes,
And that keeps
absolutely.
you, I think it keeps you mentally healthy too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm a big fan of journaling.
Me
There's
too.
a million reasons to do it, and I'll leave that to a journaling expert to
Yeah.
go into because that's like a 3 hour conversation.
Oh,
But
yeah.
there's a million good reasons to journal, and I'm a big advocate of slipping in the what, why, and then follicular. The week after your
Mm-hmm.
period is your how phase, so you're
Oh,
really good
wow.
at figuring out how to do things. So I have I come up with what I call the dirty socks principle, where partner can't get their dirty socks into the hamper. Just
Have you been to my house?
I know, right? It's a fairly identifiable idea. The dishes aren't getting done, or the dirty socks aren't getting in the hamper. But during your little phase, you know what's annoying you. You know the fact that your partner cannot get their socks into the hamper is what makes you want to stab them with a rusty spoon.
Yeah,
You know,
essentially.
cause and effect, right? You know what
Yeah.
it is. So when you go into that menstrual phase and you're writing it out, why is this bothering me so much? It's probably because even if it is your job to do the laundry, it's not your job to get the laundry in the laundry basket. You're not their mother. You're not their maid. You would like to be treated as an equal, as an actual partner, as a contributor to the household, not the entire household. So you can get those perspectives out in that very thoughtful way. And then when you go into that follicular phase, you go, okay, now how does my partner hear me? How do I have this conversation in a way that my partner will hear me? Because when you're just losing your shit screaming during your little phase, they're not hearing you.
No, you are emotional, irrational, hysterical, whatever word we classically want to describe for a woman. Yeah, you're a bitch. Pretty much any of those classical words we used to describe women. That's what you're being.
So not really the time to have that conversation if you want to make some kind of real change. No. So maybe save it for the follicular phase. And then you have to just stop and think, how do I talk to my partner about this? When is my partner most receptive? Is it after a hike, or is it at the pub with a beer? Is it, a nice dinner at our favorite restaurant? Like, whatever it is, you know when your partner really does hear you. And in the follicular phase, you have that creative problem solving skills just really ready for you. So you do that, and then you go into ovulation and you do it. It's the phase
That's amazing.
people want to give you things anyway. The studies show women make the most money in tipped positions during their ovulation phase.
That
So,
was one of the things I wanted to ask you, because there is a time every month that no matter how ugly I look, my husband thinks I'm especially attractive, and it always seems to be at the same time. Is
yeah,
that when it is?
it is. It's your late follicular phase and your ovulation phase. So, your follicular phase is usually 7 days, and your ovulation for every woman is about 3 days. It's just the same for every woman. Everything else has some give and take to it. The ovulation, 3-4 days at the most.
Yeah.
And it's just because that's how long an egg will last. So you've got a couple of days at the end of your follicular phase when you can become pregnant because sperm can survive in the vaginal environment. And then you ovulate, and then your egg lasts for 24 hours. So if in that time span you've got some kind of sperm to feed the egg, you could get pregnant. And it's that about a week, about 5 to 7 days when you're particularly attractive because you're particularly fertile.
Which is always good. It's
Yeah.
funny how, things are much easier during that phase with, I mean, my husband's the only one I'm trying to like persuade,
Yeah.
pretty much. But it's funny how each month he's just like, is it the same time as before? I mean, we're getting a little TMI here. My husband and I are trying to have a baby. We just started trying. And it's funny how much it's like calculus, trying to figure out the times when you're fertile. I mean, after 35, like you have to start, planning things out, being deliberate. So now we're like more aware of these times, and it's funny how you can really see that sort of magic of the cycle each month and the timing. And really, like, now that I'm paying more attention, it's so interesting how you've broken it up into these phases of inquiry where it's, what, why, how, do. And that's incredible for not only, I mean, this is a crowd where we like structure, and having that structure, I think, is a way to also really manage your stress before things get out of control. If you're diligent about identifying the problem and getting at it, I think that would really be helpful with our stress management.
Oh, it's huge. I mean, I have I work with women who run businesses, women who work with women, right? So I have
we're a special crowd.
Yes, and I love it. And I have women who are relationship coaches, and they're in my programs because they want to use this for their women's, and, so that their women can have this advantage in their relationships and understand themselves, and then have these conversations that actually lead to results in their relationships. But
cool.
then we have all women who do health and wellness, and we talk about eating with our cycles, supporting our hormones, and that easy. And it's easy. It's an easy way to just structure it, and you find yourself kind of doing it anyway. Like if you think about it, you go through times where you're like, I really want a salad, and I would money down that you're in your follicular phase when you're having that salad craving. But then you're like, you know what I really want is a freaking bowl of stew, or like I would put money down you're in your little phase,
something like, homey.
and there's a reason for that. You're actually going through a detox and rebuilding cycle. So because your body is actually telling you what you need. The only thing is that we have all of these addictive chemicals in our food, and that's where we need to break the cycle. But for the most part, you can really listen to your body and go, oh yeah, that makes totally sense. So there's just so many cool things. Like your cycle really can go with everything in your world, working out, planning, having an exciting sex life, working on the libido, like all of these things have a really amazing rhythm to it. And it's right there just waiting for you. We just aren't allowed to look at it as a positive.
How do we, now that we see that we have this pretty awesome power, how do we take advantage for our health? You had said eating with your cycle, how can we best take advantage of the phase that our body's in each month?
My first recommendation is to start charting, which you mentioned you have an app for.
Yeah.
I actually, and this is one of the free gifts that everyone will get.
Cool.
I actually I have a book, but you guys are going to get the printout single page edition version, but it is a charting mandala.
Oh, wow.
And that's actually my current one. Let me show you a prettier one.
Ooh.
And this is how I chart.
That's really cool.
You actually can see everything that's happening, and you can do it month after month after month. And we have everything from the cycle, so menstrual blood and then cervical fluid throughout the month.
Yeah.
Our food habits, our eating habits, dietary habits, sex, libido. I'm a single lady. I'm not saying that I'm out there having sex every day, but I'm sure learning how to enjoy myself. Mood, these kinds of things. Our self-care, as well as our symptoms. So if you have headaches or cramps or bloating or sore boobs or PMS, all of these things, this is in here. The phase of the moon, our energy levels, and then our basal body temperature and our digestion, because digestion is a major part of having a happy hormonal balance. So we've got it all mapped out here, and these are the things I consider
That's incredible.
Really important, and then you can make it really pretty, and then you can see everything. And this is what I like about hand charting versus app charting.
Me too. For any health change, any habits that I'm setting, all hand stuff. I have a wall calendar right next to me where I put a sticker on it if I've worked out.
Nice.
I like to put my sticker on. I'm a child. I go to the teacher store and I buy stickers.
I do too. One of the symbols on there is actually for your cervix, which is important if you're trying to get pregnant to know what's going on with your cervix. I am not trying to get pregnant, nor
that's also an important phase of life.
Yes, this is also a thing. I do not want to get pregnant. Also, I am a single lady, so we're always using condoms because I don't know. So it's not something that I have to think about. So I actually use mine for my meditation practice. So I actually chart my meditation every day, and I use the cervix symbol for that. So
cool.
You can always amend it to what you want to chart too.
Now, is the book something that you've come up with? That you have?
Yeah.
Can we see
do.
the cover?
I have an illustrator. She's the one that makes the mandala. I was like, I want a mandala, and I want it to have all this stuff in it. I think 5 artists told me that was not a thing that could be done.
Clearly
no,
it is.
I feel like it is. So I just kept asking until I discovered Chantel, who is the illustrator for it. And she was like, totally. And then she told me later, she was like, she goes, I actually thought there's no way and that you were completely crazy. And I didn't think it could be done, but I thought it was an interesting challenge. So I tried.
And what's up now? Can we see the cover?
Now we have 3 different books. So we have the Enter the Red Circle, which is the one for most women. It's the chart. It has a monthly calendar in it so that you can, the new moon intentions. We've got the new moon intentions, some journaling prompts in there. Our goals mandala, as well as a calendar for each month. So you can put where you think you'll be in your cycle. So you can make a little projection and you can estimate things like, I probably should not sign up for that boot camp class the day before I'm going to get my period. Maybe I'll do yin yoga instead, right? So you can plan out your stuff a little bit better. And then for the business version, which is the Your Business, Your Flow part, we actually have a place to do your planning for your business, for your day. We do quarterly planning in here, so you can really write everything out and get a solid idea of what you need.
That's amazing. I've never seen anybody connect everything that way.
Yeah, this is the last quarterly planning.
Wow.
Where are your strengths and weaknesses? What needs a little more attention next month?
That's so cool.
Yeah, so it's there's one that comes out every year. So it's just like a yearly planner or a yearly charting book.
Yes, and we all love planners. Oh my gosh.
I know.
That
was it. I kept putting my chart into another planner, and I was like, I just want a planner with my chart in it.
Yeah, I love that idea.
Chantel, and it was like, 2018, we're making a chart with a planner in it. And she was like, okay.
I love that idea. That's so cool.
Yeah, so we've got both versions out there. And like I said, you guys will get the free chart, and you could even start charting. And then in probably October, November, the 2019 book will be ready. And
perfect timing for the summit.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so we'll make sure that everybody has a link to not only the free chart, but also that 2019 planner that's coming out. So don't worry,
Sweet.
guys, we gotcha.
Yeah, it'll be good. I'm super looking forward to it. And Chantel always puts a little bit of a twist to the mandalas so you can like collect them all.
That's so cool. I love that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I haven't seen it yet for this year. So at the time of this recording, I don't know what it looks like yet.
So I'm intrigued by your idea of planning ahead with your period, I mean, your cycle in general.
Yeah.
What are some of the guidelines you have for how you might want to plan your exercise, plan your food, sort of things that you might want to think about ahead of time?
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of not just healing, but living with food, you know, really looking at it as art, as a creative outlet, as a place
food is
to
fun.
Right, it is. It should be. We have, you know, the Kitchen Witch avatar in my community, and a lot of people will join like the Food and Flow program that I have, which is just for women who just want to, you know, figure out hormonal balances and that kind of thing with food. And we'll get people in there like, I've never cooked a day in my life. I'm like, that's okay. We'll teach you how to order at a restaurant. And then slowly we'll convince you that cooking is fun because you'll just be here and you'll just see it.
It's a lifestyle. We need to plan for restaurants. I eat out all the time and I'm a professional.
and I live on the road. So there are just weeks at a time where I have no choice but to eat out. So, you know, having that flexibility is really important, but that's where you can really start making some choices. So the general gist of things is those 4 phases of the cycle. So we talked about the luteal being like fall.
Yeah.
What are your fall foods? Squash.
Yeah, pumpkins. Those stews, baby.
Stews, right? Usually something with a little red meat in it or like dark meat or something. Those heavier proteins, the darker beans, those kinds of things. So then guess what? In your luteal phase, you need lots of antioxidants, those orange squashes. You need roasted carrots are also an excellent one in this place. You need lots of that brassica to get the excess estrogen out, which is those cauliflowers and broccolis that go in all of those roasts, right? And stews. You've got the darker meats because they're so much more rich in magnesium and zinc, and you need that for your ovaries to function. And you've got those high fiber foods. Because you need to get rid of the excess estrogen. So those high fiber foods, that's perfect for the luteal phase. And then the menstrual phase is your water phase. It's the winter. It's your dark kind of cauli time, right? So those dark blues, those dark blacks. So, you know, blackberries, blueberries, eggplants, like those real dark, rich caviar, right? Those really amazing, incredible foods. Adzuki beans, right? They're tiny and they're dark red.
Ooh.
Hello, red foods in general.
Yeah.
So when you're thinking about that, but you still have that winter feel, right? So you still have those stews and those really rich, warm, calming foods. And then you move into your follicular phase after menstruation, which is your springtime. And that's where you start creating those salads and those lemon dressings and that like citrusy, and you're like, oh, grapefruit infused water. Yes. Like that sounds terrible a week before, but now this week it's the most amazing thing ever. Like it's those springtime foods, and especially your sprouts, your really those fresh springs. And then ovulation, again, because it's such a short phase, I think of it as actually like the fiery condiments to your follicular phase. So you've got those salads and stuff, but now think about adding in the arugula and the dandelion root, those dark, spicy, still kind of spring, summer greens, your cayenne peppers, your ginger, like those real spicy blood moving, because this is that libido time too, right? So those real blood cleansing, flowing, heart strong foods.
Right.
Yeah. And it's just, I mean, the easiest thing to do is think about what phase are you in? What time of year does that feel like it syncs with? And then just go with the things that sound like that's a good idea. And try and make them whole foods. You know, I'm sure pizza sounds great, but could we do a cauliflower crust this time?
Pizza
maybe next
great,
time order out, but maybe this time do the cauliflower crust.
There's really no point in my entire year when I wouldn't say, pizza.
Yeah, I know. And this is where I like just playing with it. This is where you put your Kitchen Witch on, because you're like, okay, well, I'm going to my luteal phase, and I know that if I eat a regular pizza and it's got all the sugar in the crust and all that crappy chemicals in the cheese, and I know that tomato sauce came out of a tin can, which I know is full of chemicals, so maybe I could just make a pizza at home. Maybe I'll go and grab a ready to go cauliflower crust at Trader Joe's.
Yeah, make it real easy.
Make my own. Yeah. And just make a real easy one and throw it in the oven. And then, you know what? In 2 weeks, you're going to be in your follicular phase. Your body's a lot easier time dealing with those chemicals and stuff, and go, grab your takeout pizza that week.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of a good way of going like, I'm going to try something different, or, making like little individual pizzas. I love the butternut squash. You take a butternut squash and you slice the solid part in circles, and you make little mini pizzas out of them.
Get out of here. That sounds delicious. I'm also starving right now.
It is delicious. It's like the sweet
cauliflower.
Oh my God. It's like the sweet crust with the sauce and the cheese. Oh, freaking delicious.
That sounds incredible. I love your metaphors of these seasons for us to remember and then think about, well, what sounds good right now?
Yeah.
And then let's find the nutritious equivalent of that. And, nobody get upset if you're craving something not nutritious. Totally cool. But finding what your body needs, because your body actually needs something during these times.
It does.
And listen to it.
Yeah, you're not craving chocolate simply because you're in your luteal phase. Right. You're craving chocolate because you need the magnesium. You need the comfort. You want that little bit of feel goodness. And there's no reason that you can't have chocolate. I'm like, chocolate cherry smoothies during my luteal phase are one of my favorite things. And I throw some cacao nibs in there. So it's got a little like chocolate chip feel to it, and chocolate chia pudding, especially because you need that high fiber during that phase. So chocolate chia pudding with like extra cinnamon and ginger and vanilla. I make it with coconut milk. I know, so good. But that's the thing, like, that's your planning, right? Yeah. So like, if you're sitting here right now in whatever phase you're in, what's the next phase that you're going to be in? Go to the grocery store and think about, okay, well, next week I'm probably going to want salad. So I'm going to go buy a pack of romaine, and I'm going to grab some carrots and some cucumbers and some lemons, so I can make a nice lemon salad, or, just sort of thinking in that way of like, where am I now?
Absolutely. Well,
where do I want to be?
If you are especially lazy like me, you can create your cart ahead of time on Peapod or Instacart, one of those, and then you take all the thinking out of it.
Totally.
There you go. Then you just like copy paste each month the same thing. And I want to make sure, like we said in the beginning, sometimes cooking is not feasible. You're on the road. You want to go out and eat. Despite being a health professional, my husband and I go out to eat most nights a week because that's our activity. We live in a place that's really walkable. So we walk to dinner and we go out to eat. But, there are plenty of options you can plan for.
Oh, yeah,
plenty
absolutely.
Of nutritious things that you can, find what you're craving.
Oh, yeah.
Address it.
You can find something anywhere. I've had a million meals in crappy diners all over the world and still found something that was in flow that, first of all, you just look at an omelet.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so I get a mushroom omelet on my period. I get a green bell pepper omelet in my follicular phase. I add hot sauce in ovulation. Like, it's just, it's so easy to do that there's no reason that you couldn't pop something that's appropriate. You go to your Vietnamese restaurant and you get the spicy soup or the shrimp tom yum, or you can, there's always options,
And, it's especially since something that we all have in common here is we're all super busy. We're all, constantly on the move, and meal planning is not realistic. So what we're saying here is, a general plan. You do not have to meal plan and cook on Sunday. I mean, my husband does that each week, and I don't know how he does it. I've never made that happen. And there is no reason to add burden. What we're trying to suggest is making life easier, not adding burden. Just having an idea ahead of time and eating, understanding that your cravings and really what you are feeling is legitimate, and it's, should be recognized.
Yeah. And you know what? That goes for movement as well. You know, we were talking
Yeah.
about movement before, and that goes for that as well. Like, we tend to beat ourselves up. So we'll be like,
Oh
I
yeah.
just did this boot camp class last week that I rocked. And this week I'm having a hard time even getting up the stairs.
Yeah.
And we beat ourselves up because we
Oh
think
God,
we
yeah.
failed. But in
Right.
reality, you'll be able to do that boot camp class again in like a week. You just
Right.
need to give it a rest for a week. And that's that same thing where you get into that extroverted follicular ovulation
Right.
phases, and it's extroverted and group activities, and you're really
Mhm.
actually, your ability to try new things is heightened. Like, it's your skill
Yeah.
set up for
Yeah.
trying new things during that phase.
Yeah.
So it's a great time to go do those group classes and,
Sure.
grab a group of people and go run the stairs, or I don't run, but,
Yeah, I
other
don't
people.
either.
But those higher energy classes, shall we
Yeah.
say. And then when you come back into that late luteal menstrual phase, oh my God, do not beat yourself up if you're not feeling it. Like, if you
Yeah.
want to go take a class, go take like a hot yin yoga
Right.
class. Like, just go sit in a warm room and lay on bolstered
Or
pillows and
just relax at
stretch.
home. It's okay if,
Yeah.
take a walk around the block.
Yeah, it's okay to
It's
just watch
okay.
Grey's Anatomy with a box of tissues and
Heck
some
yeah,
chocolate
it is.
seed pudding and cry for a couple of hours.
I think one of my biggest takeaways in this is that, your body's telling you what to do. And by imposing your schedule on what your body wants, you're just causing yourself angst and extra stress and getting your hormones out of balance, which,
Yes,
you know,
makes it all
magnifies
worse.
it all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm often reminded of this, and I try to repeat it as much as possible. You have, what you do affects your hormones and your
Hmm.
cycle and your period and your balance, and there's no neutral. So either you're doing things that are making your cycle easier and
Yeah.
taking you to a higher and better balance, or you're
Hmm.
doing things and it's taking you down into a worse, harder cycle. And there's really very little stasis
Right.
for mankind in general,
Yeah.
womankind in general. So you're doing one or the other.
Yeah.
So that's not to say beat yourself up for making, the unhealthy choice. It's just saying, like, throw in a good one and help balance out the odds. Because when you
Right.
do that and you take that week off of beating yourself up, you're actually helping your whole body heal and get
Yes.
better, and you'll have
Yes.
a better cycle the next round if you just give yourself a break.
Yes, and
Just,
we are so bad at that.
yeah,
That's when I work with women who are just like, well, I go to Orange Theory 6 days a week, and I go to yoga in the morning, and then I go to Soul Cycle, and I'm like, rest is part of the workout process. Rest
yeah,
days are not lazy days; those
yeah,
are for real. You need
yeah.
them.
Even
Uh,
Olympic athletes have rest days.
yes,
There's a reason for that.
and sometimes you need to just lay around.
Yeah,
Sometimes you need the pizza. Sometimes you just need to go with it. And,
yeah.
we are so busy
Oh my
achieving, checking things off our lists that we don't give ourselves any grace. And
no.
that it makes us feel terrible.
Yeah, I'd like to see the busy badge of honor turn
Oh, I
into
hate it.
an insult.
I
Like,
hate it.
oh, you're busy? Oh.
Yeah. The busy thing is just, it just makes you
Yeah.
feel crappy.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely get to the end of my week, and like in the business planner, especially because there's a place for self care every week. We've got the weekly portion down here, and there's all
Yeah,
these self care things.
I
And I have
like
all my
that.
business things that have to happen every week, and I just sort of cross them off. But like, I go through this, and at the end of the week, I'm like, man, I spent no time with my girls this week.
Yeah.
And
And you
now
have to.
that's when I'm like, oh, well, I better rectify that for next week, or
Yeah.
I'm going to be just a disappointment to myself. Like,
Right. And now I'm going to
that's what I would
schedule
like to
6 days
see
of
in
it.
women.
I'm going
I'd
to
like to
host two
see women
parties.
be like, I took no me time this week. Oh.
And then just, we got to give ourselves some
Mhm.
grace.
Yeah, instead of being like, I only did 18 videos and 14 emails this week, I would like someone to be like, well, I did my emails and my videos, but I didn't get enough girl time in. So I think next week I'm going to do less videos and a little more girl time. And then I would
Right.
be like,
Yes. Perfect.
yeah.
Everything in life is that cycle.
Mhm.
And that flow, no pun intended, but that whole
I like
like
those puns.
just like keeping with what needs to happen in the moment with some planning. Of course, I'm a big planner, but that flexibility, it keeps us balanced.
Yeah, that's one of the hard things to learn. And we talk about this in Your Business, Your Flow, the membership group for the entrepreneurs, because it's hard to get yourself away from every day I do Soul Cycle. And then I do, like it's hard to get people out of that like regimented daily routine. And what I'm talking about is a week.
Yeah.
In a week, you're going to accomplish these things, because these are the things that go well with your cycle.
Right.
And if you're planning and you've got at least a month ahead in your business plan,
of course,
you can actually, ideally quarter, but you can actually start looking at that stuff so that you can go, okay, well, I know that right now my verbal skills are peaking. I know I'm going to record my videos. I'm going to write my blogs this week. And because that also goes in that time of that springtime group thing. I'm also going to have ladies night. We're going to go to happy hour and dance all night later. And like, you can actually plan those things in so that you're doing a really good service to yourself, not just your business and your plan, but also your life, your dates, going out, like all of those things. You can really, and it's a week, you're looking at things from that week perspective. So it's like, okay, if I can knock this out on Monday, then I can just take Tuesday and go to the spa for the day. Not a big deal. So there's no reason that you have to do these things every single day. It's not like I have to sit down and write my 10 pages of blogs every day at 9 a.m. No, you don't.
No, you don't.
You actually would get more done if you did it all in the same time when your verbal skills were peaking.
Right. And we have to figure out when we function best.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's the magic of batching is first of all planning, but it's batching with flow. It's literally planning with flow. So doing all of these things where instead of staring at a big blank page one day, because we've all been there, we've been like, man, I just can't think of what to put here. Guess what? Your estrogen is dipped. You've got no verbal skills right now. Let it go. You know what you do have, though? You do have spatial skills. And so what you should be doing right now is messing around with that graphic.
Yeah, exactly.
Not working on the copy. And now you're going to spend 12 hours beating yourself up for subpar copy because you're not using your own skills to your advantage.
Absolutely.
That's the problem. And so you're beating yourself up because you couldn't do the boot camp class instead of realizing that's just not where you are right now. You should be at home watching a show with maybe a foam roller.
Which is totally cool. That's a workout.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I'd like women to be able to expand their concepts of time.
Yeah.
Really take a breath instead of panicking and feeling like, oh my God, I have to do this every day, all the time. And expand your concept of time. See things. You're a woman, you work in months. You're just innately, deeply embedded into your DNA, your bone marrow is months.
Yeah.
You work in months. And not Gregorian calendar months per se, but you work in months. You work in these weekly cycles.
Lady months.
Yeah, and they really, they overlap. Like, our planner has the Gregorian calendar month because you can't schedule things without it.
We can't schedule with our flow.
But you can also put your month in there and you can really, it's like manifesting with the moon cycles. Every time someone talks about that, it's like, well, but that's not the new moon isn't the first of the month. That's not how that works. So being able to, we are women, we can hold more than one concept in our brain at the time. We are multitaskers. So we can hold this concept of a bigger picture powerfully. We just don't trust ourselves. We don't believe in ourselves. We don't believe that it works because that's not how it works for men. And that's the only example that we get.
Right. You've given me so many ideas for my planning because I'm a huge nerd. This is just incredible. And thank you so much for all of this information. We have so much to think about. And starting to pay attention, I bet we're all going to really find some enlightening things about ourselves.
Oh, yeah. Just the simple act of charting, you start realizing patterns. Like a lot of women who think that they're irregular are not. They go, oh, I see what happens now. Oh, I'm not really irregular. over. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's amazing the mindset shift women get when they start charting and they start seeing their patterns emerge and how things affect it. Like you can see, oh, I've been eating like this all month, and now I'm into my luteal phase and I'm starting to feel those PMS symptoms. And then the next month I ate like this, and now I'm going into that luteal phase and I'm not feeling those symptoms. You can see those direct correlation.
Yeah.
It's incredibly enlightening.
I think we have so much actionable stuff to do.
Yes.
So thank you for being with us today. That was just incredible.
Yay.
You're so
Thank
enlightening.
you.